I met a guy who'd been working banking for many years, and he left the company and came back a year later, and it's like, I've set up a cannabis farm in Zimbabwe. I want you both to come work.
If you were giving someone a message, hey, I want to get into Selfridges, what should I send?
Yeah, I'd say keep
Can I ask you then, does weed make you lazy?
I think life, there's so many uncomfortable situations where you don't necessarily want to do something, or you feel nervous doing it, or it's I don't let me avoid it. But there's nothing, there's no change, there's no growth, there's no learning.
Can I ask you a question? No BS. Someone who's in the industry, like an expert. Obviously, smoking is not going to be good for your lungs. But if you genuinely had cancer right now, could you help fight and beat it with weed? Like, is that possible?
Well, so.
Nice. Episode 31 of the Bronups. Good to have you here, Dave.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Why don't you go on? Why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm David Hexter. I run a CBD company in London with my best friend and business partner, Joe. We've been going for almost 4 years now. Started when we initially, well, a bit of background on myself. I worked in the corporate world for about 8 years in sales. So it's financial sales, going out, selling solutions and products, which obviously it's a good skill to have in your locker. But it was never a career path that I was in love with. I did it more for the money, if anything. So obviously trying to live a good life and travel. The best way I could do that post-uni.
Which company was that you were working at?
So it's a company called Imagine Consulting. Previous to that was Nicole Curtin, both within financial services.
And they're big firms, are they?
Yeah, big firms. Been going around quite a while now.
Was it good fun working there?
Do you know what? I initially went into recruitment, which was a lot of fun as an early 20s person in the city, working in the city of London. I didn't understand how big the social life would be. So like the standard of going out on like a Thursday and Friday, but also like working really hard. So it's that strong, like in very early in the morning, strong work ethic, work hard days, but also less than enjoy ourselves afterwards.
Is it sustainable working as a recruiter? Because we often say about recruiting is kind of like, it's a tough racket, right? Very burn candle at both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going out consistently and working as hard as the standard is, yeah, you will burn out. I mean, it's changed a lot since I first started back in like 2012, 2013.
I find it like the British equivalent of like Wolf of Wall Street. Like they all think they're on Wall Street, don't they? Most recruiters.
No, honestly,
so funny.
It's true. It's true. And like some people, like you just hear some crazy stories. Like you'll come in the office, they'll be like sleeping under the desk, and like it'll be like a slow Wednesday, and it's like. But then I think the work ethic side of thing really does get drilled into you. And when I first started, it's like you had to have ties on the office, and it'll be like if you're like a minute late, you'd be like.
Do you reckon it's possible to be like a well-integrated recruiter with your company without doing the madness on the side?
Yeah, definitely. If anything, it plays into your favor if you're not completely blasting yourself on the weekend or like every evening, because a lot of what you have to do is actually outside of the office hours. Because when you're a recruiter, you drilled in like get on the phones, chasing up business development,
and
managing
which one were
process. So I was business development side.
I
of
mean,
things.
like in terms of, were you the party animal? Were you like, did you not fit the?
Do you know, I was more like the going out, socializing.
Yeah.
But more, I think when I was younger at that age, I was like, my focus was like, I want to enjoy myself. Like I've just come out of uni, which is very much like, obviously you're working hard towards getting a degree, but you're going out a lot. And I was still in that phase where like, I love meeting new people. I love socializing. So
did you find that environment made you a killer? Like that's tough sales environment.
You definitely like built me up for sure. Like when I first went in, I had no experience in sales whatsoever. So it's like, there's moments in the job where like you're doing things you just feel uncomfortable doing because it's not easy just cold calling people and like trying to then pitch in a way that's like convincing enough to them to give you 2 minutes of their time, but then also enough that they're willing to give you a meeting afterwards. So going into like the first few calls are a joke. Like you're just like, you're nervous. Like you don't know.
Were you like shaking when you made the first calls?
Yeah. And all eyes are on you. So it's like this, you can't even like hide behind anything and just be like, because like if you left your own accord, you'd probably just do like a rubbish call and then be like, move on. Whereas like if people are watching you, like, right, I have to do my best here, and then if you still fumble, it's like, oh god. But it just builds up resilience from an early age, because it's like you're never going to walk your way through life and like be a massive success. You're like, there's going to be times where, well, majority of the time you're not getting it right, you have to tweak something, or like you've not quite pitched this one right, or you've said the wrong thing here even though it was going well. So you learn to craft that resilience to the point where, oh wow, suddenly there's times you walk into the office and like, I'm closing meetings like every day, and suddenly all this money's coming in. It's like when I look back to when I started, it's like I would never believe I'd have done that on day one. So it's like definitely build you in terms
So
of.
did you create business where there wasn't any when you were at the recruitment? So you came in, all you had was a phone and a desk, and it was go create.
Yeah, the first role I went into was we were building a desk out, so it's very much business development. Which, having done both account management and business development, you learn so much more on the business development side of things. Account manager is different because it's a much more relationship management. So you might be coming into a warm account, but you're then having to like build that relationship, maintain that relationship, and they have a standard set already of the company of who may have previously been. So it's then matching that, and if not, doing one step better and applying a better service to them.
Have you ever seen like someone in the recruitment business place someone and then later go and take that same person that they placed and then sell them to someone else?
Yeah, man, all the time.
Didn't happen all the time, have you?
I think so. I work the perm desk, which is basically permanent hires for a company. So typically, when you place someone perm, they'll be there for like minimum 2 years, 3-4 years, if not more. So you don't typically do that. Well, I never
set a timer like 2 years up.
Straight back on that. Yeah. You'd update your CV. But now in contract recruitment, it can be like 3 to 6 months. So they can be rotating. They could place someone like 4 times in a year at different companies. So for them, it's like finger on the buzzer. As soon as a role comes in, it's like, actually, I've already placed this person there. They've made good money, but I can make more money on them here. The margins are bigger. Let me just move them out. And there's less of a relationship care side of things because it's like, actually, I want to build my book and basically any more money. So, but is that the right way to be doing it? Probably not. If you want to maintain like a long-term relationship with your end client, because if they get wind of that, it's like, actually, you're just doing it for the bottom line. You're not doing it for actually to help us as a company.
Is there such thing as ethical recruiters?
Do you know what? Yeah, there are. Yeah. I think they may have been more few and far between when I first started, but I think it's definitely changed the recruitment world. It's a lot less like boiler room on the phone, like constant all the time. It's more, they're more relaxed, but they're more like, actually, it's all about who you are as a person. Because I remember some other people in recruitment, but you didn't necessarily need a degree or a qualification or any particular skill set. It's more like, I'm hungry for this, which then obviously can create situations where people are coming in and not really approaching it in an ethical way. They're just like, okay, I'm just trying to make a bottom line here. So yeah. I think that has changed. There's more scrutiny on who you're hiring now.
It's mad because it's almost like they can never get enough recruiters. And it's weird because it's like a middle business. It's like, there's more people recruiting than there's actual jobs. It's weird, isn't it?
Oh, man. 100%.
And like, even when I was applying for jobs, I kept getting called from recruitment agencies. And I never took the job because everyone told me, don't do it, it's horrible. And then I did get offered a job, actually. And the guy was like hawking me non-stop to take the job. I'm like, I'm deciding. And he's like, but what put me off is they're like, you get this basic wage, it's like 18K. They're like, oh, we expect you to be from 6 to 6. And I was like, doing the maths, like, hold on, this is like basically illegal. Like, these are voluntary hours. And it kind of put me off.
Yeah, man. When I first started, I was like, I don't know how I survived living in London. Honestly, like you say, like you're starting off on like 18 grand a year, then you minus all your outgoings, your bills, your rent. You're literally like, you're living off nothing. But I think that also putting yourself in that stress environment where you're like, you really have to work hard to then make that money. You suddenly like, you go in with like a lot of determination, even though you're still going out and enjoying yourself. A lot of that might be paid for by like management and the company itself. You still come in like, okay, I want to change the situation. And some people can within like the first year or two, like be earning north of 100K if they put the right attitude into it. Yeah, good. I started off really well. I then transitioned away from recruitment into an account management role for financial services. So I stopped doing recruitment and it was more just solely the relationship side of things and like qualifying the client's needs and understanding what they're looking for and then coming back with a solution, which I preferred much more because I think recruitment taught me on the sales side, but it wasn't like, I didn't love the recruitment aspect of it. But from what I learned, I was like, I can apply this in other areas.
Right.
I don't think anyone loves cold calls, no matter how much you do it, you can never really love it.
Not at all. But I think, do you know what I've learned now is when you're doing it for yourself, you learn to love it a little bit more, even though you still don't love it. It's like, actually, the reward from this is now for me and not for someone else, and I'm getting like a little slice of the pie. So it definitely changes your approach and attitude towards it. And it's just one of those things that no business has ever been built if you've not done those uncomfortable things or those things you don't necessarily want to be doing. So you just got to buy it.
What was it after this then? After the recruitment, how did you go from here into current business and what was the journey? Yeah,
so from recruitment onto the financial consultancy, I then met a guy who'd been working in banking for many years, and he left the company and came back to myself and Joe a year later, and it's like, I've set up a cannabis farm growing in Zimbabwe. I want you both to come work for me. And we were like, okay, what you're doing with setting up a cannabis farm, how's this going to work? And he's like, oh, I'm selling
So
it.
you were a fan of weed up to this point?
Yeah, I dabbled in weed throughout university.
Are you someone who, before this business, already saw like the health benefits in some of the things that you've obviously now report?
Yeah, I'd heard of people taking medicinal marijuana to help with things like stress and anxiety. Some people taking it for cancer processing. But I'd not really known it as a health product. I'd actually seen like obviously connotations that always came with it. Like it like gets you lazy, like it's scattered thinking, you're not focused. Like there was always like a negative connotation.
Can I ask you then, does weed make you lazy?
I think THC makes you lazy. So the specific compound within weeds but also depending on what type of THC, because you can have like a sativa strain or you can have indica strain. Indica is very much more of like a downer, a relaxant, so it will put you to sleep. So you would feel naturally more lazy off that. But sativa is more of an upper, so it can actually give you energy, give you focus. A lot of people will actually take it on more of a focus side of things. So weed in general, no, but the compound THC, which is one of over 150 in the plant itself, can. And I think the problem is the past 100 years of the legal laws of cannabis have just, because before, like 100 years ago, people took cannabis recreationally, it was fine, there was no law behind it. But then suddenly, like in America especially, it became this huge thing where like cannabis has now been stigmatized as this horrendous product where you'll go to jail if you even have like a small bag on you. And it's just...
Yeah, so there was a financial incentive why it got banned, because there was like hemp, people using hemp, weren't they, for like everything, and they just banned it even though hemp's doesn't get you high.
No, actually, yeah. So hemp is traditionally what's used for CBD because it has higher dosages of CBD in the plant. But yeah, it was very much like a political side
Corruption,
of things.
yeah.
Can I ask you this? This is going to divide because there's going to be certain people, because I know weed is very tribal, and you as an expert, like there's a lot of people who are going to say like weed makes them better and it's a tool that makes them better version of like either processing thoughts or whatever it is they're claiming. And then there's other people saying, nah, it makes you lazy and it's an intoxicant. Do you reckon it's BS, or do you reckon that we can actually make someone better or whatever? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it could definitely make you better used in the right way. So I think if you just heavily smoking cannabis and getting high needlessly, then it's not going to be a benefit to you because you're just applying it everyday life. And if you're constantly getting yourself high, you're not going to be able to fully focus and actually plan ahead of what you're trying to do. If you do it at the right dosages, some people can find it as health benefits for particular ailments, whether that's like pain or stress or whatever that might be. But also a lot of people might just take it recreational for more like a microdosing purpose and to help creativity, because a lot of us aren't naturally creative thinkers. However, when we take cannabis, we can suddenly think differently. We can have ideas similar to like microdosing on like mushrooms, psychedelics, things like that. It can alter your state of mind in a positive way where actually you're thinking differently and you see things differently where you wouldn't typically feel.
So weed can give you superpowers.
Yeah, it can do, yeah. But I think you've got to get the ratio, and it's good to understand like what type of weed does what. So it's good to understand indica, good to understand the sativa strains. It's also good to understand what ratio of CBD, especially to THC, because we, as a company through Organics, we're strictly CBD, so we have no THC, so you can't get high off any of our products. So it's strictly about focusing on the health benefits, and the three main health benefits that people take CBD for is pain management. It's massive for that because it's been a huge...
So even though it's not psychoactive, it still helps with pain management? Absolutely,
yeah. So the majority of pain relief comes from the CBD aspect. Some they call it the entourage effect, where you have other cannabinoids in, such as THC, where it can also add to that pain relief. But the main component that does
So when people are talking about weed being a health benefit, they're really talking about nothing to do with the THC. The THC isn't a benefit, no?
No, it can be in a small amount. So medicinal cannabis, which gets prescribed. So it's been prescribed now in the UK for roughly about 5 years. So we worked with the first doctor in the UK to prescribe medicinal cannabis called Professor Mike Barnes. He prescribed for a young boy.
Oh, wow.
Called
and how old is the young boy ingesting it?
He was, I think he was ingesting.
Eating it, yeah?
Yeah, and he had, at the time, his parents had to take him to Amsterdam to get it because it wasn't passed in the UK as a law. And this is when Theresa May was Prime Minister. They then got that approved through Theresa May, and he was for his epilepsy. So he used to have fits every single day. He's not had a fit now for I think 3 years from taking CBD. So there's loads of,
mad.
and people don't know these things. They're like, oh, cannabis, terrible for you. But now this is a young boy who like doesn't have fits anymore because he takes CBD. And previously this wasn't available to him, whereas now people can get that prescribed through.
Is it a can card? I think it is, or something in it. Is it can card? The brand. You could carry around like 7 grams of weed or something with this card, can't you?
I think so. Yeah, they're huge in America. Those cards you can just get like prescribed by your
doctor.
You
get like a slight headache, and they'll be like, "Oh, here's your card."
Oh yeah, I was on Venice Beach, and they're just like, "We prescribe the medicinal marijuana. We'll find an ailment."
Well, like a doctor, like
yeah, they're there like with the wavy sign. You know the wavy sign things.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and you're just gonna go over there like, yeah, cool. I get headaches. Yeah, no problem. Here's your legal weed license.
Here's your card. Go wherever you want.
Wasn't Theresa May's husband like the largest grower of like medicinal marijuana in the UK as well?
Yeah, exactly.
So like, why would you have to get special clearance from her husband profits from it? It's like so hypocritical.
And she still has zero chill. For someone involved in such like a hippie
cool trade
industry, she's such a square.
Yeah, you
She's
think
probably Karen.
Yeah, she is.
She's suffering with Karenitis.
You think she'd have been more chilled while she was prime minister, but it didn't end very well for her.
Yeah, you would have thought so. So
her husband probably needs it to put up with her.
Yeah.
But the mad thing about growing in the UK, so for us, it affects us quite in a big way because you can grow medicinal cannabis in the UK, like Theresa May's husband, but you can't use it for over-the-counter purposes. It's strictly medicinal. So any byproducts like CBD that can be used from that, they just dispose of, which is a massive like waste to our economy, which means every CBD company in the UK has to import, which then drives the cost price.
What do they do? So they're growing all these plants, yeah? And then what do they do? They take out the CBD and dash it away? So what do they sell to you?
They extract it for medicinal cannabis purposes. So it can be some CBD, some THC. But there's also byproducts of the hemp plant where there's loads of CBD you can then use from that itself, where they're just not giving it to CBD companies in the UK because they can't legally give it to them, which is ridiculous when you think about the economy. It's like you're throwing money away because there's people who can buy directly from you.
So have you gone to like places like big legal weed farms in the UK then in your business?
No, because we can't buy from them. We import from the US. So we import from Colorado, which is like the first state to legalize cannabis. But before I joined...
like Tegrity Farm.
It's crazy.
That's cool because that's in Colorado, isn't it? Tegrity Farm.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In South Park, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's South Park's in Colorado, I believe. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But some of the me and my business partner went to the US and Canada to meet like the big players who founded the industry. This is before we set up Serene Organics.
Oh wow!
And the setup they have there is like ridiculous. Like some of the farms, especially in like Canada, they're like huge, like greenhouses. Like the amount of money and infrastructure that goes into them is like insane. But the good thing about the US and Colorado, I think weather conditions are typically best for like all year round growing. So they produce the best quality produce. It's all organically grown as well. So we can bring an organic product from the US. The frustrating thing is this import side of things, which is annoying. But being able to see those farms firsthand and see how they're actually like grown, it's crazy.
So what happened? You were out there and you were working for another company and you decided.
So the company we worked for was a startup, and we worked for 9 months. We went to the US, went to Canada, met all the big companies over there, basically found the industry, understanding what CBD is, what the health benefits are, how it's cultivated. So a lot of it's around like cultivation. So all ours is organically grown. There's no fungicides, pesticides, no heavy metals, and we use a specific extraction technique, which is called CO2 extraction. So it removes anything that might be there in terms of nasties, and it just leaves a really, really pure product. So been understanding that process, because at the time there were CBD brands in the UK, but you could buy them in Holland and Barrett, for example. But when people were testing them, there was no CBD in them. Or there was illegal levels.
Almost nothing in those ones from Holland and Barrett, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
So that yesterday, because we had that drink and it had like 10 mg, I was like, this isn't going to do anything to you at all.
Nah. And back in the day, they could say it was like 30 mg and there'd still be absolutely nothing. Or there'd be illegal levels of THC, or there'd be really like high levels of like pesticides or something.
So you could buy from a shop levels of THC before?
Yeah, before it got...
Really?
4 or 5 years ago, yeah, honestly. Like,
so you go to Holland Barrett and come out high?
Yeah, you could potentially high, or like with absolutely nothing in. Like they'll just slap CBD on the label, and because it was like buzzing in the US and Canada, people are like, oh, I've heard. But the problem that created is like people saw the product in the US and were like, oh, I'm hearing about these benefits. It's helping with sleep, it's helping with anxiety. Let me try it. People are trying it, and like it's making them worse because there's no CBD in there. It was bad quality product. And then people are like, this is rubbish. It doesn't work. So all those early adopters who like are trying to work past that stigma and be like, do you know what, let me give this a go. They're then like, there's this mistrust developing because people are trying it like, nah, it's bollocks, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So then we're having to like overcome the stigma as well as overcome bad products that previously been in the market.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people saying that it doesn't do anything for them. Like, oh, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, and it's supposed to have an effect, like chemically.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a very, very small percentage of people, like human population, that CBD is ineffective for, but it's like 1-2%, if that. So the majority of people should really be feeling the benefits. But it's also good to understand that CBD, we all have our intolerance. CBD is a cannabinoid. We naturally produce cannabinoids in our body. We all have an endocannabinoid system which regulates our immune function, our nervous function, things like that. So we all have to find out what our tolerance is. So some people might just take like a couple of drops of like 10 mg, like you said, and be like, it doesn't do anything. But they might need like 25 mg to really feel that benefit.
What would be the benefits that you would actually feel where it'd almost be like palpable?
Improve sleep. So people who suffer with insomnia, they swear by CBD and just helping them get to sleep, but also stay asleep. Because a lot of people could sometimes get to sleep, but they wake up a lot. Anxiety. So it blew up in lockdown because it really came to life in the UK around 2020, and obviously that's when our lives changed. But that's also when people are like suddenly like feeling anxious, which they never felt before. So it just helps dampen your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system, just calm you down. So it's really big for that. And
interesting. I don't know if you'll. So like, say you took a benzodiazepine, like say you took diazepam, and that might take away your stress, but in the end, it does more long-term damage. But weed doesn't do that, or like CBD doesn't do that, right? So even though it's dampening the levels of stress you have, it's not a plaster over the wound. You're still dealing with life, right? Or is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So CBD, it's non-addictive. Yeah. You can't overdose on it. So we're just supplementing the body. Things like pharmaceutical drugs, diazepam, it can work on that one area where, oh, actually, I'm trying to improve my sleep. I'm trying to be less anxious. So they take it, but then it can come with a myriad of side effects like drowsiness, loss of focus, many other things where you're like, actually, yes, it's helped me feel less anxious, but now I can't like go out.
So I guess it's not, so CBD doesn't just mask the problem then, no?
No, CBD doesn't mask the problem. The beautiful thing about CBD is people can use it in different ways. So some people use it to sleep, but then that gives people the impression like, oh, does that mean if I take it in the morning, I'm going to fall asleep? It's like, no, not at all. It just dampens your parasympathetic nervous system. So what you're trying to do throughout your day, it will allow you to, it will facilitate that.
It doesn't fight it, basically, just complements it.
Exactly, yeah. So if you're trying to sleep, it will help you sleep. If you're actually starting your day and you're trying to focus, it helps you focus and be less distracted.
What about you, Shiz? Do you believe in CBD?
I mean, he's selling to me right now, but I bought a pound of it before because I was convinced I was going to sell CBD like ages ago. And my PT, he's got like a bad stomach where he's always going to the toilet, and he has like mad anxiety from it. And I go, I've got some CBD, you want to try it? And he, till this day, he loves it, and he goes, it makes him way better. But I think I got it early days, so it's got like a bit of THC in it because he's like, I took so much yesterday, I couldn't leave my house because I couldn't drive to work. So, but yeah, he still takes it to this day. Like I sold him the whole pound, he just takes it, and yeah, he reckons it helps him a lot. He goes, it definitely makes his day like cooler, focus, and less anxious. It helps his stomach stay calm. So
that's good. Yeah, and I think it depends who you are as well. Like I said, there's a small, minute number of people who it doesn't help, but there's also, if you're not an anxious person, if you don't have trouble sleeping, if you've got no pain, you don't necessarily, you're not going to notice palpable change because these things aren't really.
Can I ask you a question? No BS. Someone who's in the industry, like an expert in the industry with this, with CBD, with THC. Obviously, smoking is not going to be good for your lungs. But if you genuinely had cancer right now, could you help fight and beat it with weed? Like, is that possible?
Well, so we can't make medical claims because the research is obviously still ongoing. However, there's many, many case studies where people going through cancer have taken medicinal cannabis.
And you can reverse it.
And you can reverse it. Some people have completely cured from it. Whether that's down to that specific component alone, we can't say. But the person themselves who've been going through that cancer and recovered, they will swear by it. Be like, honestly, this changed. My life changed from when I started taking this. So
at that stage, anyway, it's like worth trying anything. You know what I mean? Like you're going to die.
Exactly.
Yeah. You believe you can actually help beat cancer with?
So I actually knew one person, and his mum was just like bedridden. She's like just dying from cancer, and the guy, obviously you can't really get RSO over here, but anyway, he made some RSO, and he gave it to her. And like within a month, she was back to walking. I don't know what the end deal is, but yeah. Actually, one of my best friends, his mum as well. I remember they're giving her RSO, and the first time they gave it to her, they must have given like a teaspoon, and she thought she saw hell. Literally, like, that's a lot, like a tablespoon.
Whoa, a tablespoon of RSO
Poor
oil.
mum, like,
Bro,
poor
that would
mum.
send you to a place.
And for like a literal day, she's like, I can see hell, there's fire,
bless
there's
her.
all sorts, and just like, calm down, stay calm. And yeah, it did relieve the symptoms of like the pain and everything else. And she didn't make it in the end, but I think it did relieve some pain for her, and yeah, it just made things a bit easier when they got the dosage right, obviously. But yeah.
I think, and to be honest, personally, I haven't, coming back to your question, I've spent enough time in the industry now, like 5+ years now, been in the industry, to see how it does help people. But the thing that's lacking at the moment is regulation, which has recently come into effect. The last few years, it's now been regulated. So any product you'll buy from a retailer now, you know it's exactly what's on the labels in there. So like what was happening before with that mistrust developing, that's no longer happening. So that's a right step in the right direction. But there's still that stigma around cannabis. So education is massive. Like getting the word out, trying to like educate people and change their mind, not just educate them on something new, but also educate them on something they previously have a negative connotation towards.
One thing I have experience with both alcohol and THC, right? And like I would speak to someone who doesn't have experience of THC, and they would say weed's a gateway drug. But my experience of seeing both sides of the coin is I've seen many people go from alcohol into doing cocaine or whatever. Alcohol is 100% a gateway drug. Weed in itself doesn't lead on to stuff. It's a dead end, really. It might be a lazy dead end, but it's a dead end. But there is not a dead end. If you start drinking, a lot of the worst decisions I've ever made personally have been with alcohol. And I'm not even saying, I'm not here to down talk either. I'm just saying, objectively, a Karen who says it's a gateway drug, they don't understand what they really mean.
They're just jumping on a buzzword. They probably haven't experienced themselves to really give a valid reason behind it. They'll probably just judge it as a bad product or a drug and be like, that's a gateway drug to all the other drugs. You're right. My biggest mistakes and regrets have come from drinking, without a shadow of a doubt. I've never had THC and be like, oh my God, I've made a horrendous decision. I can't believe I did
I want to go and try heroin.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying that I'm not downtrodden alcohol, because I have to be very careful. Because if I structure an argument where I'm saying that weed doesn't do anything, but alcohol does, suddenly all the people that drink and don't smoke weed shut their ears. So I'm just saying, listen, if you think weed is so bad but you drink, I'm saying it's actually not, at least it's no worse. And then actually, if you're being objective about it, it's probably a lot better. And in many ways, if you use it correctly, it can be a health benefit. I don't really think there's many benefits to alcohol. So part of cleaning a wound, except for that, you know?
I 100% agree. Like you can take components of cannabis like CBD and it is a health product. There's no component of alcohol which has health products. It's toxins you're putting in your body. Yeah. I drink alcohol, don't get me wrong. I enjoy a drink from time to time, going out socializing. I know facts there's no health benefits from it. It's a choice I make, but I'm not trying to swear blind, but oh no, I'll do it for the health benefits. It's nonsense.
Yeah. And I guess the reason I say it is because a lot of people will say, well, oh, if weed's illegal, they're not even a comparable. One is that it's kind of like a different thing altogether, isn't it? Like it can't be, oh, well, if they brought out alcohol, yeah, alcohol would be illegal if they brought it out now. Weed isn't the same. It's not even the same ballpark. It's weird that it is illegal.
Alcohol would be like a class A, wouldn't it, for social damage and everything else. It's crazy.
God. Like, yeah, you're right. If it was legalized today, well, if it was produced today and they trial and test it, there's no way in hell they'd make this a social product.
But they did try ban it, didn't they? Like, what? How long ago was that? Like 100 years ago? They did try ban it, and it was almost impossible because people were making it in their bathtubs. It was as lucrative as like cocaine. Like people were becoming millionaires off it. You know what I mean?
They'd already planted the seed in society's mind. And they weren't going back from that. That's the problem. If they never legalized it before that, it would have never happened. But
you reckon?
I think if they were strong, like because it'd been around, the minute they try and then stop it, it's you've created a problem. If it was like, oh, here's someone bringing out, actually, let's just trial it between us. Now this is bad. Let's not send it out to the masses. Like we've had a good night, but this isn't helping us.
Yeah. We've seen it actually, haven't we? Like the effects of legalizing something, because people didn't used to do like powdered drugs, and then the MCAT became legal, and like every man and his dog was doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So like if you make it legal, you're kind of telling them it's okay for you. You know what I mean?
It changed the game, didn't it?
Yeah.
MCAT made everyone suddenly be a lot more liberal attitude towards drugs than they'd had previously. A lot of people are like, I'm never doing cocaine. Suddenly, oh, you're sniffing powder now. When they were sniffing that, suddenly the gap between jumping from MCAT to cocaine was nothing. And I think as soon as people did MCAT, they kind of realized secretly this is more powerful than cocaine anyway. So you might as well not have any moral standard when it comes to doing cocaine either. I might as well just do it all. And that's what happens to it.
Absolutely, man. And that seemed like a flash in the pan. Okay, so it just came in and went. But that's way more of like a gateway drug than anything like weed, because
Yeah.
everything you've discussed there is way more of a gateway drug than
Like
and with
outside-
zero health benefits as well.
Yeah, if you had coffee shops now in the UK, you wouldn't see police parked up on a Friday night and Saturday night outside coffee shops. You know what I mean? Because no one's gonna come out and have like a bar, like a coffee shop fight. You know what I
And
mean?
you're bang on, bro, with that, because what people do is they choose one or the other. So you're gonna have like a lot of people can't help but have a vice, so they're gonna choose one or the other. So like you can either have them choosing alcohol and getting in fights, or choosing a very zen life and just sitting around having coffee, smoking some weed, because guys are gonna hang out. And like, okay, we'd rather they hang out in a way that they're not doing anything illegal or bad, whatever. But if you can get them, that's just a more healthy way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a better life. Like if you've got people who are going to hang out anyway and they're going to put something in their body, why not it be weed and alcohol?
100%, man. And I think it will change. I think the UK, I think it will eventually legalize THC. I'm not sure I could put a time frame on it. But I think
Crazy
it will.
billions to be taxed on it. I don't know why it haven't already. Like that could save us actually from like recession.
Yeah, honestly, the state of the economy right now, this is something that could massively boost it. And like you look at, I recently got back from the US and Thailand, both legalized cannabis, and seeing how many cannabis shops there are, especially in Thailand. It's like every third store. It was like a cannabis store. But bear in mind, it's only been legalized 18 months there. So for their economy, that's already boosting it massively. In the US, it's like an Apple store when you go to like a cannabis shop. They've got an iPad. They'll have like on the shelves all the weed buds.
You've got like a hipster with like a mustache and like a beanie hat. Like, so what would you like, sir? You're like,
it's crazy.
Bro.
How much CBD to THC do you want? Do you want an up or a down? It's wild. You just could put your hand
it like gentrifies an area almost, doesn't it? It's like those same like coffee bars where they're like measuring out the coffee beans and like making it all special. And you're like, bro, just give me a coffee.
I heard you earlier say about psychedelics as well. So are you big like a proponent?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for psychedelics. I mean, I don't do it too often, but I like to experiment from time to time. Like I've microdosed before on mushrooms, and I do find that's been helpful for like creativity, even like focus.
You ever done a heroic dose?
I've done close to, I'd say.
You have? Have you? Of what? Of psilocybin?
Yeah.
Have you, mad? What was it like?
It was interesting. I wouldn't. It's not something I'd recommend.
What did it do to your head? Talk us through it.
It's one of those experiences where like the first time I ever actually did it was in Thailand, and so obviously not really understanding dosages, you just get like a shake or something, and like it's an amazing experience if you're in a comfortable mindset, but you're open to change and experiencing something new. You're not scared by it. You embrace it, and suddenly it's like everything's amazing because you're like, it's almost like cranking up the saturation on Instagram on a picture. Everything's colors like bold and everything's just like amazing, and everything just looks way more enhanced. But you can go beyond that point where if you do too much, it can then be those bad trips that people talk about where like you can lose.
Have you ever had a bad trip?
I've had one bad trip. I'd say.
What was that like?
It was stressful because it's like you don't know really where this is going to like go to, because it's like, when's this going to stop or end, or when's this going to change? In
many ways, you could think that a really, really severe trip, because it's hard to differentiate you losing your mind or not losing your mind, is like could be one of the most traumatic things you could go through. Now, even though it's not real, it's an experience going on in your own head. It definitely, everything, good or bad, makes you better. And I think they're so stressful that because of the stress that you get from it, it can only be good, even a bad trip. Do you know what I mean?
100%. It's a perspective shift. It's something you've not experienced before, but something you learn from. So whether you're like, I don't want to experience that dosage again, or you're like, actually, that just taught me about it. I don't need to go that high into it. But also what I learned was I was gone into another uncomfortable situation and I've come out absolutely fine. There's so many lessons to be learned from that, because life, there's so many uncomfortable situations where you don't necessarily want to do something, or you feel nervous doing it, or it's, I don't, let me avoid it. But you then, there's nothing, there's no change, there's no growth, there's no learning. I'm not saying everyone go out there and do a heroic dose of psychedelics. What I'm saying is you can learn from those experiences, and it helps shape how you move forward.
There is a guy, like, for the medicinal purposes, because I'm fascinated by the medicinal purposes of all of these psychedelics, because there's a guy who had a stutter and he took a 5-gram heroic dose of penis envy. That's the name of the mushroom, which is stupid. But anyway, penis envy. He took a 5-gram heroic dose of penis envy and it got rid of his stutter.
Mad.
And you have to think, like, I'd heard someone talk about, Joe Rogan actually talked about it, is that your brain waves and all the little ticks and everything we have, even the way that we process new information, like I see you, I immediately think like long hair, he's like Jesus, you know? So like you have these things that like you are wired. So I've seen long hair and a beard before, and I identify it to Jesus. So that when I see you now, what magic mushrooms does, what psilocybin does, is it's like you've got these ski tracks connecting thoughts, and it gives you a chance to rub them down. So if your natural things in stress, I pick up a cigarette, it gives you an opportunity to go in with a mission in this trip. To go, I want to get rid of that connection, that neural link I have. I don't know if that's the word.
It's like a hill, isn't it? Like a snowy hill,
Yeah.
and you always get on the path of least resistance. And all it does is put fresh snow down, so you could open up all these paths. So now you can go anywhere on the hill, and it's a fresh path. There's probably and it reconnects neurons in your brain, and it creates new neuron activity in your brain and stuff. It's crazy. So he probably fixed whatever his start was with that.
I mean, I love that analogy because we're so guided by our limitations, how we've grown up, what shaped us, and we don't even realize it. Do you know what I mean? With the way we think, the way we behave, it's so nuanced by like the surrounding and who you grew up with. When you take some the right amount of psilocybin, you're right, it can be that fresh snow where suddenly like you start speaking, you start a conversation, but you've not really like thought about it, and you're suddenly like going deep into a conversation. You're like, how have I even come onto this topic? I would never even thought on this angle before.
Yeah.
And you reevaluate yourself from like different angles, and you can even see like where you're being unreasonable in certain situations where you wouldn't have even seen the nuance. Like you said, the nuance, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing that. I shouldn't be doing that. That's kind of
and is this why?
weird.
Do you know what I mean?
It's weird, man.
And it's like you mentioned penis envy there. That's quite a strong visual psychedelic, but there's others where it really put you into like a creative thinking space. So like there's one called Golden Teachers, which is much more, they call it teaches you a lesson, they call it Golden Teachers. It's very much more thoughtful. You could literally be sitting there and you could be like coming up with ideas, thinking like, oh my God, I need to have this conversation with this person. It's like, oh, this is what I need to do next in the business. Like it suddenly just puts you on a different path thinker where you could literally sit down on a Monday morning completely sober and be like, right, what do I need to do? And you'd be like hitting a wall. You're like suddenly like, oh God, I'm like getting flustered here. And it's like,
so are the mushrooms incorporated in your life then because of this?
I wouldn't say it's incorporated. I mean, I occasionally take from time to time, like maybe like every couple of months or so, just to shift perspective a little bit.
And what's been the biggest advantage you've had from them?
I think just that creativity side, just really like shifting your perspective on how you might think about something for the better. Like, because like I said, it's that fresh layering of snow. It just allows you to go and think differently than you might not have thought before. We're so regimented in our way of thinking. We wake up, we think the same way. We've got our routines. It's hard to then shift. But when you can change your visual stimuli or you change your thought stimuli, suddenly like you're thinking differently, your perspectives differently. You start understanding why behind things which you may not have even looked at before. And there's lots to be learned from it, from that side of things.
So to take it back, do you reckon your psilocybin trip gave you the idea to start your business, or how did that come about after you went to visit on your previous job or whatever?
No, to be fair, I've only recently taken psychedelics, like maybe the last couple of years. But I'd say it's definitely helped in terms of progressing the business forward and coming up with ideas. But yeah, I think it's just knowing the dose to take, knowing the strain to take. If anyone was to take it, it could definitely help from that side of things.
I could foresee that being an add-on to your business in time, because as these things start to become more and more like open-minded as a society, and I think even though it's technically illegal right now, people are open up to the idea of that being medicine. There's a good chance would that be something that would fit under your brand?
If it became legalized, absolutely. Mushrooms grow. You've probably seen yourself. Mushrooms are blowing up at the moment in terms of
normal ones,
lion's mane and reiki, because it helps with like memory retention and all
You're
of these.
You're going to add those to your range?
Potentially, yeah. We're looking into it. I think we really.
What's the name of your brand and how it came about? The names.
So Serena Organics, we started literally just before lockdown, Joe and I.
Yeah.
We spent the first year pretty much just creating the brand, because we knew we were bringing the best quality produce into the UK market. So we knew it was all organically grown, the best extraction technique.
It's called Serene because it's like harmony kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So from the Latin word serene for like tranquility, calmness, essentially what CBD provides. We use the word serena, and then organics because everything's organically grown.
Okay.
And then we created, we knew we'd be on like the premium side of the brand. We wanted to be the premium product into the market. So we needed our branding to reflect that. So it's all black and golds, comes everything down to like even the touch of the material, the packaging it comes in. We didn't want any like white edges. We wanted it to be like fully premium. So before people have even tried the product, they're like, oh, this is a nice brand. I like the look and feel of this. This looks good. Then when they try it, we go up to the highest percent there is available in the UK market. So if people really want that should we say that heroic
So you're
dose of
top.
CBD, you can like, you could take that. Not that there'll be any adverse effects, because like I was saying earlier, you can't overdose on it. You can't get addicted to CBD. So you could take the full bottle if you wanted, and you'd be absolutely fine.
What would that actually do then? Just like if someone was stupid and did that, like how would there be any emergency to go to the hospital or what?
No. So there's no adverse side effects with CBD. That the
So
ones
just
that,
jump behind the wheel of a car and just try to motorway then?
yeah, you can drive. Some people take CBD for focus.
Right.
Because the misconception is, like I said, like you could take the whole bottle and you just pass out, fall asleep. It's like, that's not the case. It's what it'll facilitate what you're trying to do. Obviously, if you take too much, you might feel a little bit groggy, and there has been some reported side effects of like dodgy stomach if you take way too much. But if you're literally just taking a standard amount, you'll be absolutely fine. You can get behind the car, you can go to work. A lot of people take it for those purposes.
Nice.
Yeah, there's you can literally take it in your normal everyday life.
Sick. So is it B2C, but business to consumer you offer, business to the end user, or is it you do B2B?
So we do B2B and D2C, yeah. So
What's the vehicle? What's really making you the money and creating the growth for you?
I'd say for us, it's initially the B2B, because we were really sort of getting our brand awareness and brand name out there. But I'd say it's shifting now to D2C, which obviously is better for a business because there's better margins from that. But for us, it's definitely shifting that way. But my focus right at the moment, and Joe, is we're really trying to build out the B2B arm to really just get a name across multiple areas. Because within our first year, we launched in Selfridges. We're now across like multiple pharmacies in West London, so places like Knightsbridge and Mayfair, Hampstead, these sort of areas, so like affluent areas, because our products are more on the premium side, so the cost comes of that. But also we want to then be represented with those right brands. So like Selfridges, for example, we're now getting into 5-star hotels.
What is in like, so when you go into the bathroom, it's already there waiting for them kind of thing?
Yeah, so either their spa, because we do like an amazing massage oil, comes with like essential oils, which smells incredible, like lavender and chamomile, but also has 1,000 milligrams of CBD. So people like it regardless, just because of the smell, but also amazing for like relaxing muscles, joint pain, anything like that.
Nice.
So just adding that into like a massage treatment in the spa, it's just an added benefit. And the hotel can obviously then charge a little bit extra for that because there's added benefits, but mostly for sleep. So we created like a specific sleep collection for hotels. So it comes with like a roll-on, pillow spray, and the drops, just like 2 ml bottles. So it's like a 1 or 2 day pack, and people can just come in. It'll be more like in the suites, so like the premium rooms. They can come in. It'll just be on their bed, nicely laid out, and then they can take that, help them go to sleep. Because a lot of people who stay in hotels, they're traveling a lot, so they're either anxious from like traveling, flying, or they're anxious because they might have a big day at work the next day, whatever it might be.
Ah, nice.
So there's multiple reasons why people might want to take it, or they just
So
struggle.
how have you been getting into those, and how have you been getting into Selfridges? Like, can you talk us through the steps from just being someone with a desk and a phone to getting your product into Selfridges, which is like a tremendous feat. Fair play.
Thank you, man. So for Selfridges, it was just reaching out to the buyer on LinkedIn, which isn't a foolproof plan, because obviously you could.
Was it just like a DM kind of thing?
Yeah, just connection, send a message. This is what we do. Great to have a call.
Can you share what you said to him, just so like people know? Because I think everyone gets lost for ideas. Even in like my company here, we're getting lost for ideas. And everyone, especially when you've got one like, yeah, I just got the buyer for like say Selfridges, which is such a coveted brand. People want to know like, what was the email you sent?
Well, I think Joe reached out, and I think the message was basically structured around like, this is who we are. Like, firstly, like explain who you are as a brand, what potentially might make you different. So the organic aspect of us, the cultivation.
So you wouldn't say it wasn't a short and sweet message?
No, it's short and sweet, but very concise. Like you almost want to like, because people don't want to read paragraphs. They want bullet points. So if you can like bullet point for them.
So do you reckon, what, 100 words, get your message off? What would you, if you were giving someone a message, hey, I want to get into Selfridges, what should I send? Yeah,
I'd say keep it 100 words. I'd say bullet point your USPs. So like what makes you different to any other brand you're reaching out with in that area. They want like at least 3 things that are like, yes, okay, let me take the call. So what's different about you as a brand? What's different about you as a product? And what's the benefit for them? Because also like they might be great, but if they don't see why they should be having a conversation with you themselves, like either for them personally or for the company they work for, they're not going to take the call. So you want to add in at the end sort of like, and this is how it can be helpful for you. Because, for example, Selfridges, they have huge buyers from like the Middle East. They come over in the summer, they'll literally swipe the shelves. And in Middle East, CBD is not legal. So if you can literally like have conversations with them and explain that in the summertime, there's going to be a massive spike in sales, mostly from your Middle Eastern I guess, because they can buy products that they can't typically get home and they've got the money to spend. Suddenly it's like, oh yeah, and their biggest customer, cool, let's have a conversation. So suddenly like you've made it tangible for them. Like here's a product and here's how it's going to be beneficial for you.
So you you've told them why this will be advantageous to you personally, not just why it's a good product. Because I think that's a really important distinguishment to make, is because a lot of people will just be like, well, my product's this and that, but how does that benefit the person you're saying? So if you say my product is this and that benefits you because of that. So it's almost like making it personal to them.
Yeah, you got to get their interest on why it benefits them rather than just talking about yourself, you know?
Exactly. But nice and short as well. So when they read it, they're like, yeah, he's, you know, because it's almost like you understand them without knowing them. Do you know what I mean? You've like, I thought deep enough into this message that I don't know you and I don't know Selfridges, but I understand that this is probably what you'll be interested in.
Yeah.
So just putting it there. Whereas if they're having to decipher how this benefits them, they're probably not going to respond, because they'll probably that'll be one of probably 100 messages.
Yeah, they must get hundreds a day, surely.
So it's like you need it to be short, snappy, but also catch their attention. And then that's half the work. If that, it's like once you have that meeting or that call, then it's like, right, you need to put your money where your mouth is.
Was it just done like that after one meeting, or?
No, the process was probably anywhere like 5 to 6 months, probably.
Oh, really? Wow.
But the majority of that was them testing the products, because it's like you got to send them the product. If you're saying you're the best product in the market, they've probably been sent samples from most, like I'd say 50% of the industry. So you need to make sure that your product's actually working when they take it. So him taking it himself, passing it around his team, them also validating it, like, actually, yeah, I feel great from taking this. This really has helped with this. It's helped with this. Then they can come back and be like, I remember when we had our follow-up call post, like arranging the products to be delivered, have they got it? It was literally like within 30 seconds, it's like, yeah, we're going to stock you.
Wow.
That's how it started.
Well
Was
done,
it a bit
man.
of a pitch for me moment?
Yeah, it was like, it was one of those like, you go in like all prepared, like, okay, if they ask this, if they ask that, like we want to reconfirm this for them, like explain this again, like help them understand this. You don't know what they're going to throw at you, like, because some people just like can be difficult to challenge you just to see like how you are at managing the situation, or like they really want to validate what you're saying to be correct.
Was it like a presentation when you went in, or was it just like a friendly one?
No, more of a friendly one. Yeah, just really just coming passionate about your brand and your products. And then when he came back with literally just was like, "Hi guys, yeah, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm going to stop you guys." And it's just like,
so you're in the bull ring as well.
Sorry,
you're in the bull ring and you're in London. You're in both the two major Selfridges and online.
So they're Oxford Street store and online. Yeah,
sick.
It was.
So where do people go and what they look for if they want to get your product from the Oxford Street store?
So we were in the food hall where we've done a new product launch. So we're looking to relaunch on brand new packaging, like all labelless, beginning of next year. So once that does relaunch, we'd be in the food hall section, where they have a whole CBD section, about 4 other brands. So
sick. So is it like when they're the food halls where they stock, like it's not like a canteen in it, it's where they actually get food and they take it away like a supermarket?
Yeah, it's they have that massive like restaurant area, but also in the food hall you'll find all your like your supplements, your mushrooms, your CBD, anything that's consumable, like edible, like even coffee, everything like that is in the food hall.
And what's the price point then? What would be, say, if on a typical, say people were using you for sleep, what would people be looking to spend a month with your firm?
So if you really want to target sleep, we say minimum £70 is what we start at for our 10%. So we start at 10%, which is 1,000 milligrams. And we do that in we use a MCT carrot oil, which is like a coconut oil. So a lot of people use hemp oil, which is like earthy and really not a nice taste. We do that in peppermint and orange as well. So any newbie to CBD would say start at 10%. Find your tolerance. So understand where it lies. Because if you only take a couple of drops and it helps, you don't need to go up to a high percentage, because you can make that oil drops last longer. Whereas some people might take like 10 to 15 drops to really feel the benefit. Then we might be like, maybe take the 15% or the 40%, which is the highest you can get, because then you're only taking a couple of drops and it will last you much longer. Whereas you could be like going for a bottle of 10% super quick if your tolerance is high. So always start low and go slow, find out where your tolerance is, and then really understand.
Is that like a drops?
Yeah, oil drops. I'd say always start on that if you're really looking to find the benefits. If people don't like taking the oil drops, because it is a bit difficult at times if you're traveling around, like you're on the tube or you're driving, it can be a bit inconvenience. We do have gel capsules, which are 25 milligrams per capsule, so it's a strong amount. And that can be like, that was more for convenience on the go if you're like in the gym or you're like.
So do you reckon you'd suggest taking them throughout the day?
Depends what you're doing it for. So if it's more stress and anxiety, you'll have you'll have an understanding of yourself when you typically feel that. Like you could be like an anxious person going into work.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, take it first thing in the morning. If it's for sleep purposes, you don't need it throughout the day because obviously you're not trying to sleep, but then take it about 20 minutes before you get to sleep. It will help you with that aspect. Some people, if it is more for like focus, and like sort of stress, they might want to top up throughout the day. So like they might have like a morning dose, and then after lunch they might take another dose just to plateau them and keep them on a nice like composed even kill. Because some people can actually drop off. I take it every morning.
Yeah.
I take it. I don't suffer with.
What does the master take then? What's the whiz of CBD taken each morning?
I take 40%.
How many milligrams? 40%.
So that's 4,000 milligrams in a 10 ml bottle. So equates to 40%. I only take a couple of drops because you only need a couple of drops of 40%. But I find it just helps. Well, you guys will understand as business owners, like you don't know what's going to come at you any given day. Like no given week's the same. So it just allows me to react more composed and more. I'm less like emotional when like something comes at me. It's more like I'm more like something goes on. I'm like, okay, cool, what are we gonna do about it? So it's like you just feel like much more at ease and much more composed. Not that you're not stressed about it, but you can just find yourself reacting and suddenly like, right, let's go solution mode rather than like.
Sick, brother. I'm sold. I'm gonna get some Serene Organics. I'm gonna get onto the CBD train. You sold it to me. What's the plans for the business then? What's over the future when we check back in? Where's it gonna be?
So our plan, well, sort of 5-year plan and above is from now we're really going to expand out to 5-star hotels across London and wider. We want to start looking at retreats as well. We're very much a wellness brand. So we've done wellness events with 5-star hotels already. We did one at Hotel Cafe Rail a couple of months ago on Regent Street, and that was like a drinks masterclass and a sound bath. So taking CBD before the sound bath, everyone going in relaxed state, then like a drinks masterclass, like social networking afterwards. So like an amazing event where people leave feeling like incredible. They talk about like a transcendent sort of experience because I don't know if you've ever done a sound bath before, but you literally go into like the sound of the gongs and it's a very deep meditative state. But with CBD as well, it just helps you get into that.
In a bath?
So it's called a sound bath, but you're literally just lying on like a yoga mat and a pillow. Right. So you're like in a room of people.
I thought it was one of them pods where you go inside and it's like no stimulus or anything.
No, I mean, it can give you that sort of experience, but it's more like yoga mats, pillows, and then like gongs, like massive gongs. It's like that, and then like different sounds like rain and waves and things like that. But you leave just feeling like if you come like we do it at like 7 p.m. So like a lot of people have a super stressful day at work and they do that and they've forgotten about their stresses. So we want to do more of that at other hotels. So building out hotels, building out more retailers. So targeting places like Harrods, Phoenix, Liberties, these sort of places. Sports clubs as well. So we're in the process of getting our products approved by a company called Informed Choice. So any product giving in sports like the Premier League, they have to have a certification from Informed Choice to say that there's no illegal drugs in there. So we're currently in the process of doing that for our products. So then we've already had some conversations around that. So we can then kick on those conversations when those approved. And then our longer term vision is to open up like an actual wellness center. So where people can, it's like a private members club, but it's focused around like CBD. So like CBD infused drinks and foods. People can come and have like a CBD massage. They can do a sound bath if they want to. They can do other new wellness things coming out like ice therapy, like cryotherapy, infrared sauna, IV infusions, these sort of things. So it's like a space you can really come and focus on your wellness, but also like work.
So you think about opening one of those up?
Evenally, yeah. Sick. That's our like bigger
plan. And then when THC becomes legal, you're already in place, ready to go.
And everyone's just stoned like that.
Yeah. Just going back to the Selfridges, I don't know if you mind saying or not, but obviously what sort of order size can you expect from them firstly? Obviously it depends on product, but like...
I think they typically order anywhere between like £5,000 to £10,000. They'd always also want to like trial it in the first instance. Yeah. So your first order is always going to be around that size. Obviously then it can jump up from there once it's been validated with their obviously customers, but that's where you typically expect it in the first instance. And it's amazing because obviously like Selfridges is a well-known brand, the footfall they get through there any given day, and also their online presence. Like people go in Selfridges, they're looking to spend money. It's not like your typical people who like just peruse and window shop. They're like, they'll just be walking out with yellow bags left, right and center. So it's a good place to be in, and from there you can really push on.
And was that like the make or break point for you? You're like, we've made it now and it's only upwards from now on, or was it kind of like you'd already made that point? before.
Do you know what? I think it was one of those milestones for the company because it was like a validation for Joe and I.
Yeah, it's like a reaffirmation of like just to, so you know, all right, we're on the right path.
100%, man. Like when I'm sure you guys do something similar, but before we'd even launched, like a year we spent setting up, we like visualized where we wanted to be. So we had Selfridges on our vision board, like this is where we want to get into, like this is how much money we want to make. These are like the sports clubs we want to get to. All of this is like already on our focus. So then to see you start ticking those things off, it's like, okay, we're on the right path. Has it been like A to B like we expected? No, of course not. Like it's ups and downs and you hit roadblocks. But yeah, that was like one of those moments where you're like, okay, yeah, we're doing the right thing here. And it's also very, you can't rest on your laurels for too long now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yes, we're in Selfridges, but it's like, right, okay, now we push on. It's almost like the next day is suddenly like you're sobered and like, right, we go again. There's no time to celebrate. It's just mad. Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, we got in Selfridges in our first year, right? Let's just kick back and like enjoy ourselves. It's like, right, that's done now. Yeah. What's next?
100%. We're kind of constantly going for that struggle, and even ourselves now, we just got monetized, which was our like milestone, wasn't it?
Yeah, sick.
And even then after that, we're just like, the subs are going up. We've gone to like, well, we've gone up to like 7K subs this like last month.
Yeah,
it's crazy,
flying, bro.
Yeah, to see you guys grow, because obviously I think you were saying before you've only been going for like 8 months, so like to see that growth already is incredible. And we have our own podcast for the educational side of things, so first-hand experience know how difficult it is to like grow rapidly.
Oh, nice. So plug your podcast.
Of course, man. It's called the 101 Podcast by Serene Organics. So if you want to learn anything about CBD, everything we've discussed around like how it helps health benefits wise. We got the doctor on there, Professor Mike Barnes. He talks about how it can help people within like menopause, the dosage to take, how to use it, all of these sort of things. So it's just a great way for anyone who wants to learn more to just go on and find out for themselves.
Sick.
Say, do you want to plug your socials? Before I think it's about an hour now we're done.
Yeah, socials is Serene Organics CBD. So you'll find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn under Serene Organics CBD.
Nice one.
Sick.
Cheers, brother. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me.
Good to get you back on. See where the business goes and when
he's in Harrods.
Opened. Yeah, we'll come in and we'll record when we're in at that retreat when it's open, bro. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
I look forward to it. Cheers, guys.
Nice one, brother.